Hi, I'm Melissa, a customer experience manager here at monday.com, and I'm excited to walk you through the Getting Started for CRM webinar today. We'll cover some of the basics of monday.com, a few helpful tools to get started, how to customize your workflow, the communication options within the platform, how to easily gather insights from your data, and as a bonus, a sneak peek of some of the other things you can manage with monday.com. So for those of you who may have never seen the platform before, maybe you haven't started a free trial on our homepage, this is monday.com. Now, monday.com is a work operating system designed to help you manage all aspects of your business. Whether you're managing your data, onboarding your customers, monitoring your leads and your sales pipeline, or even just working to improve communication amongst your team, monday.com is fully customizable, so you can do it all and you can get started instantly. We want to make it as easy as possible for you and your team to get started, so we offer several options for you to kickstart your workflow. If you click Add here, you'll see the option to create a new board from scratch, start a new board from a template, or import your data from one of the options here. We know it can be really intimidating to create a new workflow completely from scratch in a new platform that you may not be familiar with. So we've loaded up our template center with helpful starting boards for all different types of industries. So let's take a look by clicking here into See More Templates. To find a pre-made template, you can explore any of these options in the categories on the left-hand side, or you can search for one by keyword or phrase. The sales and CRM section is going to hold a lot of the good stuff that we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to click in here and show you some of the great options. We've got a ton of options to choose from, even within this section here, for customers, projects, CRM specific to real estate, documents for sales, and even commission tracking. You can take a closer look at any of them by hovering over them and clicking Preview. So let's take a look at the Simple CRM. I can see here that the Simple CRM template includes all of the basics for my contact information in these different columns. I'll zoom in a bit. And this can be a really great addition to your workflow if you're looking for a way to manage your contact information and maybe your deal sizes. If you'd like something that's a little bit simple like this could be a great fit for you. Today, I want to show you a more complete CRM solution. So let's go back and take a look at the Advanced CRM. Now this Advanced Sales CRM template includes those columns for my deal information, but it's a little bit more built out than the Simple CRM template. There's additional column types, more automations, and more board views, which I will get into in just a little bit. One of the other really neat things about this template solution is that it includes two separate boards that are automatically connected. So while this board here will hold all of my deal information, there's also a separate templated board for all of my contacts. This allows me to include all the relevant information while making sure it's easily digestible for my team. So let's go ahead and we'll try this one out. I can add these boards to my account by clicking here to use the template. You'll see when it adds to my account that it's going to add a new folder with the boards inside. So while I just had this board before, I now have this new folder called Advanced Sales CRM with my deals pipeline and my contacts boards. I can also click and drag to rearrange them within the folder or outside of the folder, however I see fit. One of the other really great things about this template bundle or solution is that it includes not only the two separate boards, but also this dashboard called the CRM Learning Center. The dashboard includes tons of tips and tricks to help you get started and get your CRM up and running. So you can check out all of the videos that we have included here, these helpful resources in the form of different articles, and you can even share your feedback with us here in this feedback form. Now, we all know that customer data is a pretty important part of any CRM system, so I think it's fitting that we start with the contacts board first. So let's go back up here and open the contacts template. Anytime you create a board, regardless of which method you use, if you import your data or you start from scratch or a template, they're all going to consist of the same basic elements. So the board name here, contacts, the board description, which I can change out, my group or groups, I can have multiple, and then the items which live underneath my group. Now, the groups and the items can be structured in any way that you want. Groups can be used to signify phases of your customer communication, for example. You could create a group for hot leads and another group for cold leads, or in this example, my contacts. So this column here furthest to the left is going to be my item name, and it's going to serve as the foundation for all my item details. So all other columns to the right can be customized from there. We offer many different column types that can serve various purposes. So let's explore a few of these together. While these first two columns here are the same type of column, they're both a text column, they clearly serve two very different purposes. So while this one holds my company details for my contacts, this one holds my titles. Or maybe I want to rename it to role. And then my team can come in here and make changes as necessary. And the next two columns here are called status columns. The status column is one of our most commonly used column types, and it allows you to define the label options that can be chosen from. So with the status column, I can edit the label and the color. I can add new things and I can remove things as I see fit. The Connect Boards column here, moving further to the right, is one of my favorite columns. Super useful, but I'm going to hold on to this one and we'll touch on it in just a bit. So to skip to these two here, this is going to help me keep track of my customer's contact information. I have both the phone column and the email column. When I want to give this contact, Madison, for example, a call, I can click on her phone number and it's going to open the default phone app on my device. Now on my computer, the default app is FaceTime, but on my phone, I can choose to make a call or send an SMS message straight from here. This is great, but I typically prefer email, so I also have the option to communicate with my contact through the email column. Similar to the phone column, I can click on the email address there, and it's going to open my default mail app with this email address filled in as the recipient. I also have another form of a text column here called the long text column that allows me to add different notes for my team. Now I can explore all the different columns, find things that are more fitting, or just see what we have to offer by clicking this plus sign here. Now you'll see the core column types that show up, some of our most popular ones like status and text, like we already talked about. But I can also click more columns to head into our column center. I can type any keyword up here, like phone, for example, and find the relevant columns, or I can just scroll to explore what we have to offer. So this board looks really great now. It's got the structure that I wanted to have, but it's just missing my customer data. So up until now, I have been storing my customer data in all different spreadsheets, and it's getting a little messy. So I want to import that data into this board. By clicking this drop down here, I have the option to import items directly into this existing board. I can either click to browse the local files on my computer, or I can drag and drop a file here. So I went ahead and I downloaded a CSV of all of my contacts. So I am going to drag and drop here. Great, so you'll see that it immediately opened up this mapping. So I can choose which columns from my spreadsheet that are going to feed into the columns of this particular board. So first, what I want to do is select the column from my spreadsheet that's going to serve as my item name. And in this case, I want it to be the contact name column from my spreadsheet. Now I can map over each of these column types from the spreadsheet to the column type on my board. So we'll say we do want to import each of these, and we'll find the matching column here. All right, and then I'm going to click import. It's going to work on this for me, and then voila, I have all of my contacts in this board that we created together. Now I can make any adjustments that I see necessary. I can maybe rename my group. Let's say this is all of my customers. I can change it to a different color. Maybe I want it to be this blue. And I can organize things now that I have all of the data in one place. I want to organize it a bit more though, so it's not all in one chunk. And I think a really great way to separate out my contacts would be to create this group for customers, which we already have, and a group for vendors. And I'm going to take the quickest and the easiest approach to do this by using our board filters along with batch actions. These are two really great tools that are going to save me a lot of time. So to do this, I'm going to open up our filter options here at the top. And you'll see now that I have each of the columns on my board and all of the information that lives under those columns. So I can click here for the status label of vendor. And if I click out of the window, you'll see that it has filtered only the items on this board that have the status label of vendor. In order to move these from my customers group into a vendors group, I can hover over the left-hand side of the item and select it. So I'm going to select each of these contacts that are vendors using batch actions. And you'll see now that I have a batch action toolbar at the bottom of my screen. With this, I can move all of these items at once, again, saving me a lot of time where I would otherwise have to do it one at a time. So we're going to say move to group. And right now I don't have a group specific to my vendors, so we are going to create it. By typing in the name of the group that I want to create, you'll see I have the option down here now to create my group called vendors. And it changed up here from customers to vendors. I can change the color again if I want to. Maybe this one's more of a hot pink. Now I can clear the filter by clicking back into my filter menu and clicking the clear button. This is going to bring me back to a view that shows all of my contacts, whether they're customers or vendors, but they're separated out by group, which is really great and very easy to see. So this board now will serve as the main hub for all of my contacts, but I also want to show you how I can pull in information about my deals in my company's pipeline. That's also a very important part of my business. So the deals pipeline board, which you'll remember was created through the template as well, is jam-packed with some really great features, columns, views. So I'm going to walk through each of these really great things now. Some of these column types are going to be familiar from our contacts board, so I'm going to jump around just a bit to show you some different things here. One important factor in running a business is keeping in touch with my customers and with those vendors that I showed you on the last board. So in order to ensure a level of responsibility for my team, I want to assign my sales team members to each of the deals on this board. And I can do so in my people column that has been renamed as owner. This allows me to then type in the name of the users, and I can assign my salespeople accordingly. To help these sales team members keep track of when to follow up on their deals, I have this date column here that we've named next activity within the template. So this not only allows me to enter a date that they should be following up with their deals, but you'll also notice this little visual icon to the left. So this helps me for things that are overdue, due today or tomorrow, and that are coming up. And this visual icon here is called deadline mode. Deadline mode works to connect my date column with a status column on my board. So you'll see that there's a little link here connecting it to this link for my stage status column. If I want to look at these two together a little bit easier, I can hover over the name of my column, select the little 8-dot icon, and drag and drop it over here. So now it's a little easier to see these two are connected. My deal information is conveyed through a few different numbers columns here on the right. So I have deal age, deal value, and close probability, which each have some cool features within the footer. So I can choose the function that I want, and I can also choose the unit. My deal information is also coming together in my formula column here called forecast value, where I am taking my two numbers columns and multiplying them together. The formula column is one of my favorite columns as well. Very cool, and it allows you to output nearly anything that you want here with the data on your board. We're not going to touch on this too much today, but if you want to learn more about the formula column, we have some great resources here in the Help Center within the account, and you can also find them online for the formula column. Additionally, we have a webinar that touches more on these advanced topics if you'd like to dive into that as well. In order to keep my workflow connected and make it easier to navigate between the information on these two boards, my contacts and my deals pipeline, I have the connect boards column, which I mentioned to you guys earlier. And that's this one right here that's called contacts. So the connect boards column allows me to connect an item from this board to another item on my contacts board to indicate who the point of contact is for this particular deal. The mirror column is also a really great column type, and it's an extension of my connect boards column. You'll see it here also highlighted in green. And the mirror column allows me to show additional information from the associated board beyond just the connected item names. So if I drag and drop this one over here, you'll see from this connected item, this is the company that Madison works for. Now I have all my information set up in just the way I need it, with my contacts living in my contacts board and my deal information living in my deals pipeline board here. Having these two boards separate helps me to keep things really streamlined and to avoid clutter for my team. But what if I do want to see all of the information for deal 3 here for Leilani perhaps? Well, that's where the item card comes into play. And you can find that by clicking into the Add to Conversation or the Update section bubble right here. In the Item Card tab, which will open by default, I can view all information from my item that lives on this board and even adjust and rearrange it. So let's say maybe the close probability and things like this are not as important. So I just want to see these few things. And maybe priority is most important, so we'll move it to the top. But the best part of the item card is that I can also view all of the information that's tied to this item through that Connect Boards column. So here on the bottom, you'll see that I have all of the information from my contacts board and Leilani's item available all in one place. Now my team is really set up for success, and we have a place for all of our existing data, which is great. But to elevate this workflow even more and save my team some time, I can make use of our automations. So if I X out of here, we'll go to the Automation Center here at the top. And we have a ton of pre-made automation recipes in our Automation Center. So to show you what an automation is, let's take a look at some of these examples here. You'll see that an automation recipe, as we call it, is made up of a trigger, like when a status changes, and an action, like notify someone. You can choose any of these recipes in our Automation Center and then fill in the parameters or these bold fields according to your team's needs. Now, if I click back into the board automations, you'll see that this template comes with several recommended automations for your board. I can toggle any of these off that I don't think would be very helpful. And I can also click into things to make changes. So let's click into this one here and we can update it just a bit. Right now it's saying when my date in my date column called next activity arrives, I'm going to notify all of the subscribers to the item. But let's say I want more of a heads up about this date arriving. I can say 7 days before the date in that column arrives at 9 a.m. We're going to notify with this message. So here I have some of the board the board details coming through. So the item name pulls in dynamically. So does the board name. And we'll say that it is due in 7 days. I can also change who gets notified. Maybe I want it to be the specific person that's assigned to that item in my owner column. Now I can click to update the automation, and those changes will be reflected here in my Automation Center. We have a few other recipes set up here, and I'm going to show you these in action. These are just some of the examples about how you can remove that manual work from your workflow. So this is the one that we just did. Additionally, anytime a new item is created, we want to assign whoever created it as the owner in that people column. When my status column called stage changes to the negotiation status label, let's move the entire item to the deals group on the same board. And then lastly, these few that I toggled some of them off are saying when my status changes in any of these 3 status columns, each with a different name, to done, then we're going to create a pre-made update. So we have a lot of automations going on here, a lot of really great stuff. Again, that's going to save me those manual steps. So let's test them out. I'm going to create a new item to show this to you called deal name 5 here in closed 1. And you'll see right away that it assigned me as the owner. Again, that's from the automation to assign the creator as the owner anytime a new item is created. I also will receive a notification here in my bell icon notifications and via email based on my email notification preferences because I was assigned to the item. So that's really cool because I can keep my team on top of things, make sure that they are being notified when they're assigned to work. And I'll show you a few other times when they'll get these notifications as well. So let's keep testing the automations, and we're going to change the stage of my new item to negotiation. And as you'll remember, this automation, when I change it to negotiation, is set to move this entire item to my deals group, which it did, and that is great. Along with all of these automations, this template also recommends using a chart view to get quick insights of the board's data. We have lots of different board views as well, which you can explore here by adding a view and then clicking into more views. The chart view is the one that's already added here, and it's just renamed to deals status. All of these board views offer you different ways of displaying your board data, and especially with the chart view, it's a very visual way of seeing all of my board data together. It's of course important to note again that you can remove or add any views to visualize different aspects of your data, so it's most beneficial to your workflow. We can even change around the settings in here, so I can say I'd rather see it as a pie chart. And this makes my data very simple to understand. And I can see quickly here that 20% of my deals pipeline currently is in that status of 1. But maybe I want to push for more like 50% by the end of next quarter. So having this data here, I can then tell my team, hey, we want to focus on leads to help get our numbers up, and we're going to push towards a goal of 50% won by the end of the next quarter. With that being said, I always want to ensure that we're continuing to feed in new leads. We have things to grow upon, so then we can schedule more meetings and win more deals. So for this, I'm going to create another new board, which is going to act as our leads board. As you might have seen when we were exploring the sales and CRM section of our templates, so we'll go back here to our template center and to sales and CRM. We have a contact us form, which I think would be a great fit. So this template description matches exactly what I'm looking for. It's going to help me collect leads and increase sales, which I was just talking about how I want to do. So this sounds perfect. But it also allows me to create a form that's submittable by users that can be shared or embedded on my website, making my job really easy to find those new leads. When I click to use this template, as soon as it adds to my account, it's going to automatically set me up in this split screen view where I have the form view at the top, plus the board where it's building from at the bottom. The form fields here directly correspond to the columns on my board. So you can see that if I add a new column, let's do a date column, for example. When I scroll to the bottom of my form, I now have a date field in the form. I can edit the form questions and descriptions. So maybe this is going to be, what is your name? I can also decide which fields I want to be required, and I can hide fields that I don't want to show up on the form. I have additional customization and settings options over here, so I can decide which group I want all of the new form submissions to feed into. I can create a customized thank you or success message, redirect these users back to my website, and more. When I click on Share Form up here in the top right corner, these are the two options that I was speaking to earlier, where I can copy a shareable link, or I can copy this embed code and put it directly in one of the pages on my website, let's say. So I want to make sure that our potential customers feeding in through this form are feeling really heard. So let's jump back to the main table, and we're going to touch on this form in just a bit, but let's get a little bit more set up with the workflow first. So as soon as I submit the form, I'd really like to send them an email thanking them for submitting the form. And to do so, I can set up one of our great email integrations. We have several options in our integration center for both Gmail and Outlook. So I'm going to show you the Gmail options today. While all of these are really great and really helpful, this one here, when a new item is created, send an email to someone, is going to be the perfect fit for what I'm looking to do. Because every time a form is submitted through that form view, it's going to create a new item on our board. I'm going to set this up so that every new item from the form also receives an email. So we'll fill in these fields like we did before with the automation, where I can do a custom message. So let's say, thank you. And I can pull in these different fields from my board. So on my board, I know that my item name is the contact or lead's name because of how I have the board set up. So I can say, hi, item name, in order to pull their name in. Great. So now I have a great beginning message to reach out to my lead. For the someone field, I am going to use the email column on this board so that whenever someone submits their email address, they're going to add it right to that email form, which is going to fill right into my email column. Let's go ahead and add this to the board. Okay, so I promised we'd go back to the form. I do want to show you how it works in action, especially now that we have that email integration set up. So let's fill out a test form. We're going to go back to my form view, and I can click preview here so we can try and fill it out together. So what is your name? Melissa. I'm going to fill in my area code and my phone number. I am in New York. And thank you for reaching out to me. We'll leave the date for today, and we'll leave the update section blank. So now when I submit a form, I can go back to my board, and you'll see that it added me right here to my new leads. All of my information filled in to these columns accordingly. So I have a lead with all of its information right here in the context of my board. Now you'll also see that a blue bubble here with the number 1 popped up. So when I click to go back into my update section, 1 over from the item card tab, all of my updates are going to live here. So you'll see too that an outgoing email went to the email address listed in the email column, and it pulled in my name from that dynamic field. This is really great, so I can make sure that my customers, we're getting in touch with them immediately, and they are feeling like they are heard. Now, let's say here I also want to connect with my team on this new lead. I can write a new update here in the update section, and I can even @mention my team members, either by clicking here on @mention or by doing the @ symbol. I can now say @salesperson2, very interested. I can add a file if I need to, and then when I click update and add it to the section here, salesperson2 will automatically get notified. Again, I always want to keep my workflow in mind, So I'd like to also make sure that the information coming into my leads board is flowing through to my deals pipeline board as necessary. So I can achieve this by setting up a new automation from scratch. So I'm going to go back to my main table view and out of the form view, and we'll go back up to the automation center at the top of my board. Now these again are all of my pre-made automations that are recommended through the template, but I can click here to add a new one. Here on the left-hand side, we're going to go to the item creation category. And I'm going to pick this first one here, when status changes to something, create an item in board. I'll need to fill in each of these fields, and I have to select the destination board in order to fill in all of my details. So we'll say when the status column on this board changes to contacted, then we're going to create an item in this board. And this board will be my deals pipeline board. And the way this automation works is that I'm going to pull certain information from the new items on this board to create somewhat of a duplicate item on my deals pipeline board. I don't necessarily want to carry over all of that information, because once we contact them, then we're going to move them towards the deals phase. And right now we don't have a ton of information from the lead. So I'm going to pull over the name, the location, and I can click here to pull in phone. So this is saying on the left-hand side, this is all of the columns that live on my deals pipeline board, and I'm filling them in with the information from this leads board. So now my new item is going to have these 3 fields automatically inputted. And we'll go ahead and add that to the board. Great, so let's see this one in action as well. Whenever I change the status for my item here to contacted, my item isn't going to change much here because I want it to still live in my contact us or leads board. But when I click into my deals pipeline board and I leave the chart view and go back to the main table, I now have this new item for Melissa with the contact information filled in. So with these 3 boards that we built together today, the contacts board, the deals pipeline board, and this new contact us form, I have a complete workflow to manage my customer data and my sales, to communicate internally with my team and externally with my customers, and to gather insights in order to move my business forward. I hope you found this helpful, and I really appreciate you watching.